How many of you folks have seen something like this on a street corner, on a telephone pole, or near a public area, and wondered how do they work? Well, I'm going to show you. The one you're looking at right now is a photo that I pulled offline. It's actually an eBay photo, and this is a Gamewell call box from 1924. And if any of you have one of these, I am interested in acquiring it, and I'll show you why. Because when my grandfather passed away, he had a large collection of fire paraphernalia, and he was a fireman for many years in Pascoag or Burrillville County, Rhode Island, or area. I think it was actually Burrillville Town, and he served for a long time. And he had a lot of fire paraphernalia. One of the items in his collection was this. This is the call box itself. This is actually the telegraph that mounts within the call box. This would be behind this door. And what it does, these old systems actually worked like the telegraphs of the time period, because that's what they were. That's the only communication equipment they really knew when these first came out, and it worked quite well. Essentially, what this is a how can I put this? It's like a programmed telegraph. Instead of you manually, typing or keying in whatever you wanted to send to the receiver. This had a disc that would spin around, and it would tap out the message that it was trying to send automatically. And all you had to do was pull this lever, which we'll do in a minute because it's really noisy. So in plain terms, this is basically an automatic telegraph. Now, on the other end in the firehouse, there would be a ticker tape type machine that would actually punch holes into a piece of paper or print them, that would tell the fireman which call box it was. In a network of call boxes in a community, or in this case, I believe this came out of a building, which had multiple pull stations and one central receiving station that would alert the staff where the fire was. So this could have come out of a hotel. It could have come out of a government building. It could have also come out of a street corner call box. I'm not exactly sure where it came from, but the concept is still the same. So what would happen is, if there was a fire near call box station number 4, which is what this would have been, the tenants or some passerby would pull the hook on this machine, like so, and it's a strong hook, and let it go. And then, it's basically a clockwork mechanism. It has an escapement right here. And what it would do is this disc would spin around, and it would tap out 4 pulses, and then what I believe to be either a beginning or an ending pulse. So you'd have your initial pulse to alert the station that there's a fire, and then it would tap 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then once more again to either alert the beginning or the end of the tone. That I'm not really sure of. And the fire department would look on their chart and they would know where this pull station is. So anyway, so that's what it does. And you could change the call station number, or the pull station number, just by pulling off this disc and putting in a different one. See, there's plenty of room for up to, like, I don't know, let's say 16 or 20 different pulse nubs, or what would you call those? Detents. So this could be changed to any different number of call stations if it were to be replaced, rebuilt, reallocated, whatever. Now, when I went to visit my grandfather many years ago, I actually saw the ticker tape machine that they had. It was still there, but it wasn't in service. It was kind of roped off, and the firehouse still had this ginormous machine that would record the pull station attempts. And I bet you when they took that system out of service, that's when my grandfather got this. But it would still work if put back into service to this very day. I mean, it's in really good shape. It's been in a private collection for many years, and that's probably why. You can see this hook here has a lot of pitting and corrosion on it. It's pretty obvious that it's seen the elements, so that leads me to believe that this unit has been outside, or it was in an outdoor call box like the one pictured. But this unit would only fit in that style box. I've looked at all the different Gamewell box styles, or exterior call box styles, and that's basically what this came out of. Now, I took the cover off, and it reeks like old shellac. If you've ever taken apart an electric motor, an antique motor, or fan, or appliance, you know what I'm talking about, or even a radio. These coils were dipped in either enamel or shellac. I think back in the 20s they were still using shellac, and it just has a very pungent smell to it. I'm not terribly familiar with the inner workings of telegraphs. I do know that there must be a power source, and then there's the output terminals. So I'm wondering if maybe these here would have been energized. These are electromagnets, and they would have been energized, and whenever this switch is hit, it would energize the coil and go like that. I don't even know. I was born in 1984, long after the last telegraph system was in service. You can see it's a very simple mechanism. I mean, it's basically, it works like a clock. Here's our escapement. This is what keeps it in time, keeps it moving. There's a spring in there somewhere. A main clock spring. The cork gasket needs to be replaced. It is shrunken enough to have cracked and no longer fits all the way around. But my grandfather, he had a lot of weird stuff like this around his house. And this is one of the things that I used to play with all the time when I'd go visit him. He had it for the grandkids to play with. But him and I were never really that close, I'll be honest. But we had a lot of the same interests, and weird stuff like this. This is the kind of stuff I love. And it turns out so did he. But yeah, he just passed away around Christmas. He made it through the holiday, and that was it. But yeah, the Gamewell Co. made in Newton, Massachusetts. But I did some research on these, and it turns out that smaller stations like this were very common in buildings, like the Pentagon or just a large organization. Such as, the Pentagon. But they would have been used in buildings like hotels, government offices, large office buildings. And they would have either a direct line to the fire department, or they would have internal fire departments. I believe in the early days, fire departments were often limited, and if you had owned a large building like that, you would have a crew on hand that could answer fire calls. And so if this was pulled, you would send a couple of guys with a fire hose that they could hook up to the building's internal water distribution system, and then put the fire out that way. I believe even to this day, some large companies have their own fire departments. These could have been used on ships too, where they would have been very handy. Because I know that ships have their own fire crews, and A very interesting piece. My goal right now, I don't really have any plans of restoring it. Now you can see how there was some UV damage to the cover. You can see it in the right light. I have a lot of light coming in. The thing about my condo is either I have light coming in all directions and it's blinding, or I have none. There's no happy medium. But you can see the outline of the call box. There you go. You know, it was hidden here. This is where it would mount to the face of the call box, and this would be exposed, and this is what the user would see. So it's obviously, you know, if I were to guess, I'd say maybe the door fell off or something, and it was like that forever. But yeah, there you go. But anyway, what I want to do is I want to find a call box to put it in, and wire it up so that it maybe flashes a strobe or something. You know, something cool. Or maybe I'll use it as a doorbell. You know, they pull the lever. Maybe that's a bad idea. Ring a bell. Ring the big giant schoolhouse bell that I have downstairs. Maybe? No. Bad idea. But there you go. That's how they work. That's what they do. Have a good